All right. So I say we go ahead and get started. What do y'all think? So,
Yeah, works for me.
Hi, everybody. So I'm gonna see. Tell me, can you guys still hear me? Okay, because my earbuds are connected to my computer, and I don't want to, get too far if it breaks up. Close this so I can, um, still hear me good. See if we can get a prettier view.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, so good.
And then, all right. So, well, hopefully people will trickle in. Mark, I'm going to give you co-host powers to like admit people. At least I should be able to. Hold on 1 second. Oh my God. And it's so bright out. Can't see. Why are you being so difficult? Well, yeah, it's all right. Hold on. But um, actually, no, I can walk over and do it. I don't want to mess anything up. All right, so make sure it's recording still. I think we're good on. Um, so welcome everybody to the first official um Nomad podcast. And I cannot help but be um I'm trying not to cry because what's going on over here is so beautiful right now. I'll show you guys here in a second. Um, this is a part of the country I haven't been at much, been to very often. And if I have, it's just been, driving through and, and see why they call it the country because it is just so amazingly beautiful. And, I had some reservations about doing the Nomad podcast, seeing as I'm not in my car and I'm riding along with my friend Cassie, who is the most incredible driver ever. And I'm pretty sure she's a robot because she has driven 95% of all of what will be 140 hours. And, to go celebrate the life of my father. And um, it's, yeah, I've got a lot of, it was so good to see so many people that I haven't seen in anywhere from 2 months to 15 years to 17 years. So I left tracker school in 2009. And it's funny, I didn't get a chance to go back into the pines because, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. Uh, but it was so good to see people who I just always want to have my arms around, like Jorge and Leone, and I mean, the list is endless. Matt and Carmen, Carly, oh God, just all these people from my past. And some of them I haven't seen. Thank you, Mark. Um, it's funny to see how we've all aged. So Dylan, he was a caretaker for a while, and kind of pleasantly obnoxious kid. I remember hiring him as an intern caretaker, and he looks exactly the same except he's gray. But otherwise, like his skin doesn't look like it's aged at all. And then other people, um, it's like people are close to you or have been close to you when you haven't seen them in such a long period of time, and it's like you've hung out the other day, and I got that feeling there, um, quite a bit. Unfortunately, I originally I wasn't planning on going, and that was because of everything from money issues to the fact that I have to when I had to wait so long for my stuff to get back from California, I had to, put up the new schedule. And then the opportunity came for me to go and pay, is, oh, here we go. Now they're trickling in. Let's see here. Hold on. Where is the, uh, why can't it just be like admit everybody? The heck? There's that one. So, yeah. So it's hard to sit here and just look at all of this beauty and not get distracted and, uh, you know, talk to you guys. So, as somebody who for the last few years has, gone through a rough patch, but I'm definitely on the opposite side of that mostly. Been preparing to nomad from Portland, Oregon to Roundup, Montana at the end of the month. I'm going to go back to my friend's house who has been so graciously caretaking me so I had the ability to grow my business again or start it up again. And so I've got to, and I've got all these classes I have to run while packing. Um, so yeah, it should be fun. And I've done it enough times now that I'm just, deep breaths because, if I think about it, I start to freak out because my last move was very traumatic for me because right in the middle of it, my father took his final walk. I mean, literally right in the middle of me getting stuff out of, my mother-in-law suite I was living in. And I just went into this mode of robot torpor. T- Torpor is the wrong word, but just autopilot, And one of the things I realized this week is that more people coming in. Mikey P. So, guys like this, Mike Pinella and I have been friends since elementary school, and we got to visit with him, and he came down to the event, and one of my favorite humans on earth, and I'm just so grateful for the people I got to see. Um, Unfortunately, uh, as the opportunity presented itself, that I was going to be able to go because Cassie was going to be driving, and she only lived a couple hours north of me. And I was like, yes, everything is working out great. And I had some other friends that met us there, my friend Shane. And then, kind of upon arriving at the camp, immediately there's this really weird, vibe going on. And, I don't want to because it hurts my heart because my friend didn't get to attend the event at all because of a yeah mistruth, we'll call it. And I also packed because I was told that I was going to have an indoor space to stay and a temperature controlled space for my stuff. And 2 days into the drive, and that all evaporates. And one of the things I was also supposed to do, as per my father's instructions to me personally, was to go um, and claim some sacred items of ours, meaning mine and his, that, things like skulls we found on walks and other things like that. And I didn't get to do that. And because my friend couldn't be there under this, because of this misunderstanding, I had to go back. We got a hotel, and so I missed well over half the event because of that. And if there was just something not right about it, and it doesn't sit right with me. And as someone who was brought up, to always rely on the community, and there's always space, and for those of us that walk this path. And here's this man who I brought because I was genuinely afraid for myself after some recent things happened. There's been a certain person bothering tracker school folks who's also been harassing me. So I brought my friend Shane, who is, he was part of the first tracker SFI team that my dad started. He was, a fixture for a while. And actually, he and oh, hold on, I gotta let something else. So my dad's school and his school were two of the schools on the top 10 survival schools in the United States in that USA Today article that came out like 15, 10 years ago. Mikey P might remember, or somebody might have a better memory than me. But yeah, it so eventually, we got things cleared up. But at that point, uh, it was, I had missed so much of it. And there were so many people there that I saw, and I was like, oh my God, I just want to go hug that person. And I didn't even get to say hi to them. I missed my uncle. Because he recently gotten surgery, and he had said that he wasn't going to be able to make it, but it turns out they were able to secure parking for him close to the building. And because I was coming back and forth from a hotel, did that switch look good? See it over here? Did it transition? Did the camera move angles? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm just gonna pan around as I talk so I don't cry. Um, yeah, I I know everyone there was doing the best they thought they could, but it still hurt hurt me personally that regardless of this, you know, I don't know what we'll call it. Um, you know, I would never, ever, ever bring somebody, uh, you know, dangerous. Like, he has top secret security clearances because of his work. And yeah, so I'm a little bit bummed out about that, because not only did I miss half the event, he missed all of it. And thankfully, he only came from upstate New York. Um, and yeah, so I'm in the process of, processing that. And, I also got to, because I only got to participate in, a certain, amount of the ceremonies, I was going there expecting to kind of close the circle, as my father would say, as I was meant to. And I had, a number of tasks that he assigned to me after his passing. I was supposed to take certain objects to certain places in the Pine Barrens. I didn't get to do that. However, it was, I had so many wonderful moments as well. I got to, once again, community, the true warriors. Well, people, there's a setting where I can just auto let people in. Um, so yeah, I also, as someone who suffers with a chronic illness for 40 years, the toll that just sitting in a car for what will end up being 140 hours um, has done to my body is not good. And the fact that we had to do this whole thing in an 11-day time period because Cassie's niece is graduating, and she had to be back on the 5th. And she was going to go without me. I mean, she might even leave me here. I mean, I might even make her leave me here. Uh, in fact, this time last year, I was in Alaska and I was trying to figure out a way to get my friends to uh, just convince people that I disappeared or I got eaten by a grizzly bear because the thought of being 55 miles from the nearest anything in the middle of Alaska was so much less terrifying than going back into cell phone service and turning my phone on and getting 2 weeks worth of emails and text messages and things like that. Um, I do not believe in coincidence, only the illusion of coincidence. And I am still very much processing the whole event and the drive there and the drive back. And, my friend Cassie, come over here for a second. Cassie has been one of the best salves for my soul. I've literally in, yeah, I do have to lower the screen a little bit. She's a little shorter than me, but I have spent more time alone with Cassie than any other human being in the last like 4 years, I think, pretty much, except for maybe briefly. If I happen to go somewhere for a couple of days. And more of an important person who gets me, and I can sing goofy songs in the car and make up my own lyrics. And I just, we've stopped so many places on the way there and the way back, and we only get to experience a smidgen of each place. So you can hide if you want. But I don't like. I'm the type of person that knows how precious life is and how short it is and how infinitesimal ours is when compared to the mountains behind me. Um, that I want to always be learning and always be growing. And, this is something I've been saying for a while now. I only want to, as I move into this full nomadic phase where I will be going and spending, 3 weeks at somebody's land and then 3 weeks at someone else's land. And I'll flit out and collect interviews and teach classes. And then, of course, as you all know, my new classes that are open to the public, online classes, are all pay whatever you because time is priceless. And I can tell you, what your 2 hours of or 16 hours if you choose the longest webinar series I teach. I can't put a value on that, that less life you'll have and the time I put into learning and practicing and putting together the presentation. And I'm really uncomfortable about money. That's why I spent a long time learning how to properly manage it. Um, I just needed to work on my trusting skills a little bit better. But that's all in the past. And as I look at you all and see smiles, and I can't wait to come and visit some of you. You know, right now I probably owe Mark about 500 lawn mowings and house paintings and all sorts of things because can somebody mute? I'm hearing like myself talk. I think it's Owen on here. Uh, yeah, it was just weird. It just started. Um,
Spirit.
yeah, so I look forward to going. So here's my plan. If it works out as it should, I got it. We're gonna get back. We have to be back by I don't know Thursday, right? No, yeah, tomorrow. So we'll drive till probably way too late tonight, and then get back to Cassie's place in Walla Walla, and I'll spend a half a day there, maybe overnight, just to process and decompress, and then drive back down to where I've been staying and start this process of the Diamond of One. I can't wait for that class, and I'm so glad that that is starting after the experience that I just had because it's going to be that much better. Um, One thing I dislike about webinars and these style classes is there's never enough time. You know, if you're in my all-in-one class, right, that's basically 8 2-hour snippets of kind of the skill sets I teach. Now, any one of those 2-hour webinars, I could turn into a month-long class if I wanted to. So there's never enough time. Never enough time. There's never enough time to fully experience anything and everything. Like right now, I would be perfectly happy spending a month just within my 360-degree line of sight with my camera, just walking around and looking small like the mice people and finding the beauty and grandeur. Because most people come to places like this, and let me do a little fancy transition here. You and they come to a place like this, and they tend to focus more on, the very sorry for the quick speed on the camera, but they tend to focus more on the prominent features, the landscapes, the mountain ranges, the vistas, whereas I'm looking at those mountains over there, but I really want to go look at the boulder that's right over there that's got this rainbow lichen all over it. So I'll take the camera over there in a minute. I'll show you guys that. So anyway, I got to go back, restart or not restart, but make up a couple classes that because this was so last minute, um, like days. Normally for a trip like this, I would have spent a month making lists and then paring them down and then paring them down. And I kind of just threw everything that resembled anything I might, based on the information and resources I had available to me. And oh, there's rainbow over there. Yeah, so I one thing that's been really difficult for me, as I've been nomadic life is because I chose poorly in my choice of vehicle, or take a step way further back. I chose poorly in getting rid of my truck, which I could have traded in on a van. Um, I was meant to be, I should have been traveling for a month and a half when I arrived at the celebration of my father's life. I had a very specific route planned, of people I was going to interview, people I was going to teach, and life throws us curveballs, and all we can do is try to be in the now and just, not let it drag us down. I've watched too many people in my life that are close to me, come upon a hardship and let it literally destroy them. Um, I had a friend from high school who went through a nasty divorce. And he wasn't a drinker at all, and he managed to die from liver failure in 4 months. From going from occasionally having a beer to 4 months. And I think about you know, how some people are resilient and strong, like Cassie. She's been my anchor and through this whole trip. And Mikey P and Mark, he's like my secret agent in another state. And he's at the head office, um, in a bunker somewhere in New Zealand, I think. I don't know. I'll have to check on that. But I'm just so grateful that I have so many wonderful beings in my life, both of the two-legged, the four-legged, the winged, the things that crawl, the plant and tree people, the rocks. And as somebody who, is an artist with my photography, and thankfully, something I'm just starting to get back into is actually taking photos. And I am making a mini documentary about this whirlwind 11-day trip. I got some amazing antelope footage, and I was going to try to weave that into this, but I didn't want to overcomplicate things. And yeah, so anyway, it was so good to see, like Malcolm. I haven't seen Malcolm in 17 years, since I left. And um, just, uh, and one other experience I had that, you know, growing up around the pines in the Boy Scout camp and not being there in a very long time, when I pulled in the driveway, had this moment where I felt like every single time I pulled into that driveway was like stacked all on top of one another. And I had I was for a split second, I was able to remember and relive every experience I had at that camp. Hundreds of classes, thousands of students. And then, maybe it was the road delirium, who knows? But um, people came from all over. My friend Joni, she just had some crazy back surgery, and even she made it. And, I'm so grateful and thankful for that. Another thing I'm grateful for is my family, my brothers. Um, I got to have much needed conversation with my brother River, who, um, we haven't chatted much to do a simple misunderstanding that, could have been cleared up a long time ago with a simple phone call, which is why I stress in life and have tried to work on my communication skills because communication wasn't something that was big in my family. So I, it's another skill I had to learn to adapt into my everyday. And as someone who's been doing a lot of work alone for quite a while, it is, um, I miss community. And, I know we're in a community right now, and I know we're all always thinking about each other, but like I miss physically being around other humans that like me because I'm Tom, not because I'm Tom Brown Jr.'s son, which, if I had $1 for every time somebody has drugged me around a social gathering and introduced me as that, I would, I'd probably be on, I landed the helicopter to do this. Um, and it's just like, well, I am 45 years old and I have been teaching for 25 years in, the majority of that, away from the tracker school because my father sent me away. And I was thinking about that recently, and I'm like, I'm kind of like an old school traveling salesman for the vision. So that's what we're going to imagine this adventure that I'm going to embark upon as a diplomat for those voices that most people can't hear, but I can, and help them learn to listen with something other than their ears and see with something other than their eyes and truly plug them back in to the nature net. I often use that term nature net, and I love how I use crazy high technology to do things like this. This, what I'm doing right now, I mean, even 10 years ago was practically unthinkable. And now it's just something we take for granted. And that's why, as with every broadcast, every class, every mistake, I learn and I grow and I adapt. And pretty soon I'm going to have a flying webcam that will follow me. And we could just go on a walk right now. I have the ability to set up like a Wi Fi bubble with the Starlink. So these are all things I will be implementing into my nomadic teaching style, because I think of all the people I've educated over the years, especially at Tracker. And it's expensive to pay for a class. And honestly, I used to, when people would say, complain about the prices, I'd be like, you've obviously never gone and taken like a seminar series or a handgun training class weekend that it's like 30, $2,500. and you get no food and you have to get a hotel. And I'm like, you know, for the amount of information you get at one of my classes or, my father's and anybody else out there that truly teaches from the place of the pure vision, um, it's cheap. And something else I've been realizing lately is that as a business human, there are all different types of profit. There's this one, which unfortunately we need to do things like buy food, clothing, and shelter, which I personally would much rather my job be gathering and making my own food, clothing, and shelter. But as my father said, if I were to run away to the woods and not pass on the sacred information I have, then I'm doing no better than the people who are destroying things. And that's the story I aim to tell. And I also realize that because of my dad, everything I am, every person I know just about, um, is through tracker school and my father. And because of that, I will always honor him. And I will always tell people, one-on-one classes are great, but there's nothing like I miss tracker school classes, especially my favorite is the Monday night of the advanced standard when they're making their wood bowls and you see like 50 or 100 glowing faces blowing into their cedar rounds and just, people sitting around the fire who it's like, a US senator, a lawyer, a hippie kid, and like a gym teacher, people who would never in the real world come together, you know, acting and interacting and treating each other like equals, like peers. And that's the hidden message, the hidden coyote teaching of tracker school is the community. It's just like with cordage, my if I could put a T3 Merriam-Webster definition on cordage making, it would be taking weak individual fibers found in nature and weaving them together into strong, usable cord. So as individuals, we can only accomplish so much. And that's why I want to take a minute to give special thanks to Mark because Mark has been doing a lot of the stuff on the back end of my website, like, you know, correcting links, dates, punctuation, spelling, uh, and something that takes him, maybe, 15 minutes might take me 2 or 3 hours because I just am not as savvy in those areas, and because Mark has given me that freedom that has allowed me to go outside and take pictures again and work on skills and film them for future classes. And I just realized that I can't do this alone. I need a support system, So once I get done in Portland, I'm going to go to Roundup, Montana to my friend Jim's house. And we're going to do some work on my car and hopefully by then maybe trade it for a van. Although um, I think I might be able to make the car work now that I've rebuilt the back. But yeah, I'm itching to get out there and not have to. This road trip has been amazing, but it's been a teaser, because I just where we're at right now. I would love to be here and spend the whole day. And I'm wondering about those rocks up there. One more time. And unfortunately, I should have put a different lens on for this, but there's, oh, okay. Camera. Let me just do a little light spin here, everybody. Everybody, hold on to your lunch. All right, now I gotta just go back a little bit. One second here. Make some minor adjustments. So if you see way up there in the top, those rocks that are just, they're just boulders that are perched there and it's sat there for eons. And I just want to go up there. And I know there's no way that I would ever be able to get up there. And just the mystery of why that one rock is off. Let's see if you guys can see it. Yeah. So the one that's off to the side there. It's just amazing that it's there and you could see clearly as a tracker. I can visualize that being pushed up over millions of years and breaking apart and sliding apart. There's one thing I've learned from my father and from my own just life experience is if we take that time to slow down and be purposeful in all of our doing in all of our works, um, you'll end up with a much finer finished product. I would break it out and show it to you right now, but for instance, I got to stop on the way uh, to Jersey and visit my buddy Brett. And I'm carrying with me a cedar wood bowl that I started 10 years ago. And I'm just starting to finish it up now. And I've used it to demonstrate coal burning for countless classes, rock boiling. And right now it's full of bone tools, as that's going to be one of the next classes that's going to get put up on the pay what you will. And yeah, so long story short, y'all ain't seen nothing yet when it comes to the nomad life. I've just got a few more things I have to set in place so that I can do so properly because of actions, ultimately I'm at the center of my own storm and I'm responsible for all my choices. But I have been misled and misguided. And I was I realized I had blind spots that I didn't even know existed. And now that I do, I burn them into place because us brown men have thick heads, thick skulls. And I'm thankful for my friends who tell it to me straight or tell me when I'm, like Cassie just did. um, but yeah, I want to be around people who challenge each other in constructive ways and uplift each other. And I am so over this, a battle of these schools. Oh, an elk? Huh? There's deer. Oh, there's deer coming. You guys want to see? Oh, let's wait and see if you go. Yeah, so I look forward to the future and where inner vision will lead me. And this is a multifaceted adventure I'm preparing for of teaching and gathering stories about how my father and stalking wolf and the lineage has changed the lives of anybody and everybody who has come into contact with them. And the reason why I work as much as I do and I stick it out is because I have seen connection to nature cause miracles. And also, there's no finer art than what is around me right now. And I just think to myself, as Mr. Louis Armstrong said, what a wonderful world. So I think I'm going to be, when I get home, as I said, I've got a ton of footage and a ton of photos I took. I'm going to put it together into a multimedia blog post. I'll have a video and photos and some writings as I further process the events and how things could have been done differently from many different angles, and continually strive to be better every day than I was the day before. That's why every morning I say, today is the first day of the rest of my life. Yeah. And I've learned also recently that the choices we make at one time, they can seem so insignificant, yet 5, 10 years down the line, you realize how drastically it all through the course of your life. If it weren't for two very blatant omens, I may not have returned to tracker school back then and started teaching. Um, but like I said, I always believe, or I always believe that wherever we are in the now is where we're meant to be. And if we're meant to be there, there's always room to learn. There's room to teach sometimes. There's room to be a caretaker. And I carry those spirits, those essences as I go about my days. And after everything I've been through, I just now feel like it's clicking, it's coming together. And Mm. I've my whole life I told a funny story about the the celebration about how when my dad really wanted to like teach me a lesson, he would call me a city boy. And I just I feel I know my father's proud of me, but I also feel like I've let him down in many ways. But my time is yet to come. I am very much my father's son, but I am also the one and only T3. And I learned to take the good things, leave the bad things from both sides of my created me. Mm. Because if I think there's anything we definitely should do is try to become better versions of our parents. And unfortunately, it seems like the society as a whole, especially after the last 5 months in suburbia, after decades of living in cabins, that is like, whoa, people really need the teachings now more than ever. So that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna finish. We're gonna be back, so I'm gonna get back, get to work, get moving as quick as I can because every second that passes is when I can't get back. So thank you all for being here. This was a tough one for me. And I will be hosting another YouTube live event in the near future once I get home and have processed through, some of the experiences I had. But I just encourage everybody to always seek truth, knowledge, understanding, wisdom, be in the now as much as you can, and don't fret about the future too much, which is something I am horribly guilty of. But every day, my smile gets a little bigger, uh, and I'm happy to say that, just up until recently, I've started waking up happy and looking forward to the day after 3 years of wallowing in my own crapulence, as Mr. Burns from The Simpsons would say. So, with that, I'm gonna do one more. Actually, I want to show you guys this boulder really quick because it's beautiful. Hold on one sec. Now we get to play the dance of the chords. Does anybody have anything they want to add? Questions, comments, thoughts, queries, quandaries? The meaning of life? Trees falling in forests, making
Hey
sounds.
Tom, thank you. Good to
Hey,
see you.
yeah, good
As
to see you
Josiah.
too.
I'll just share two very quick little anecdotes about your dad. The first one is just sort of funny. Is that the first time someone gave me one of your dad's books was at a Buddhist temple in China. Um,
Wow.
so
I think that's the further.
so I
I
guess
think that's the furthest I've heard of one reaching. Yeah, go ahead,
So,
Phil.
and then the other thing is my teacher who I did sweat lodges with, who he was trained by his grandfather. He was adopted when he was 6 years old, his family tradition. But he comes from, based on the description of where um I think you said where Stalking Wolf came from, it might not be the exact same place, but it's a similar region of Mexico. So I guess the reason I bring that up is it was validation because he practices a lot of the same techniques, and
Yeah.
it basically like proves like to me like the story of stock. It's validation for the story of Stalking Wolf, you could say. So that's all I just wanted to
Yeah.
share. And bless you and thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, one thing on that note, those of you who are familiar with the symbol, the triangle with the many paths leading to one pure and simple truth. And, I think back to the conversation my dad had with grandfather about religion. And, he asked, grandfather asked my father or my dad, if you were to, if all religious texts were to instantly disappear, where would you find the word of God? And you're looking at it, and yeah, the clouds are just so amazing. And I wish I had a like permanent camera buddy. So I gotta figure out a way like to pre-record some stuff and put it in, make for a little more seamless transition. But the next one up, I think, depending on, yeah, so I should be doing my usual Friday night T3 reads GBJR. that one might be a short one depending on where I am. Because I'll most likely be driving back to Portland on Friday. Um, so I will happily pull over and, read a chapter. So that's the next thing up. And then because I had to postpone like the all-in-one, I changed that class to where you can pick and choose whatever one you like. And however, the other ones, they are, on a specific subject or topic, and they're meant to be all taken at once. So as I continue to learn and grow and evolve, so will my website. And I'm going to start laying out in blog posts and short videos what I envision the future of Tracholites, becoming, which is a repository for naturalists and nature educators. And as I said, what's most important to me is making sure there are no blockages between people and nature and the knowledge that I have. It's like one thing when you have a class and you got to pay for a bunch of food and things like that. But with Zoom, I don't have to get it carved any more seed rounds or, get any more food. We can just build this online community. And I am looking to eventually expand into one of the actual teaching platforms instead of just using Zoom so that I can have that more community feel. Um, and it'll make for better uh, subject class experiences as well, where you guys, if you're in a particular class, you'll be able to meet separate from me if you choose to and discuss a homework assignment that I give out. So these are all things that are in my digital notebook brain here. I just gotta find the time, resources, and places to do them from. And I always have my camera with me. And when I do get on the road, you're going to be able to talk to me through the security camera in my car if I get lonely. And you can log into my website and we can chat. And I'll also have one on my roof, so you'll be able to see like the countryside of where I'm. So I've got all these cool things, and my uncle, who sits on the board of the International Online Educators Association, he's discussed it with his colleagues, and some of my ideas are they're saying some of the best that they've heard when it comes to online learning. Mhm. Because it is limiting in some ways. So I want to make it less so by incorporating technology as it improves. That's why I'm really excited for the flying webcam to test that out. But all right, everyone, Cass and I got to get back on the road because we have a lot more driving and we're about to get a mega thunderstorm right now. And, knowing my luck, my camera will get struck by lightning as it fell out of the car when we got here. Thank God for small rig cages. If you are a photographer, that thing has saved my camera many times. But thank you all for being here. I will be editing this recording, getting rid of all that junk at the beginning, and I will post them. I'm going to create on my YouTube channel a space for these, and I think I may eventually, for ease of travel and for like really quick, if I see something that's coming up in 3 hours and you only have 3 hours notice, it's much easier for me to do it through YouTube than it is the website, because if I do it to the website, you have to go through the whole sign-in process. So once again, my job is to make the process is seamless for you and enjoyable and energy and information packed, because we have important work to do, and that is introduce our fellow people to the wonderful wild world around us. Now I'm sad because I was just going to take some photos before we left and it's going to rain. But you know what? I had a much greater time talking with you guys. So thank you for being here. Um, Things will definitely get much more polished, especially once, because I'm riding along in somebody else's car. Uh, I'm not used to things being where they usually are. So yeah, always striving to improve and streamline, because as a single human, that's all I can do. All right, everyone, much love to you all. I look forward to seeing you on my travels. I will be hosting all sorts of events, both in person and online. And as I've said before, join the Facebook group, and the front page of my website is the best place to get, excuse me, up to the date info on what I'm doing. I literally update it every day, just about, or every 3 days. I say what I'm working on. I will, you'll receive, I'll make an announcement on social media when this recording is available. So thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and wish us Godspeed, because I want to I want to go sleep for a couple hours. Yeah. All right, everybody. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody. And I will see you all soon. Until next time, peace, love, joy, and purpose to you all. That's love.
Take
Good
care.
night, everybody.